What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today is going to be another Honda Fit video. We're going to be installing some rear camber shims on the back of my 2007 Honda Fit. Here it is. Got it back in the garage. Just installed the S3 coilovers with the Hone Development's top hats. And we're going to be installing some more Hone parts today. So let's check it out. These are Hone Development's relatively new rear camber shims for 2007-2008 Honda Fit GD chassis. They go between the spindle and the beam axle on the older Fit chassis. This is a 1 degree increase in camber, and they come with 2 pairs of shims. This one does only camber. This one does camber as well as 0.2 degrees of toe. My Fit, after being lowered, has a little bit of a funky alignment. It's pretty towed in the back, so I'm going to be installing the ones that correct toe as well. So let's get this thing up in the air. I'm going to do this one side at a time just because the way the springs are on the rear, I don't want the spring to fall out. So I'm just going to start on the driver's side, and then I'm going to go to the passenger side afterwards. So now that I got the Fit up in the air, the first step is to make sure that you have the e-brake off so you can remove the drum. And the second step is to take off the tire. So I'm going to get the tire taken off, and I'll get back to you once that's finished. So now that I've got the tire off, the next step is to remove the drum. You need to have it be free, no e-brake to remove. Second step is to take the dust cap off. I'm going to do this first, make sure I can get the hub nut loose, and we'll move on to the next step. I just yanked the drum off. Now is a good time to check your shoe linings. These are some Porterfield R4-S Autocross style shoes. I installed these pretty recently, so they're looking pretty good. I'm going to take a screwdriver and hammer off this dust cap. I don't have a punch. You should use like a chisel style punch to do this normally, but I'm not as well equipped as I would be if I were at work. So I'm going to take this off now. Once you've removed the drum and the dust cap, there is this big 32mm nut. You gotta unstake it right here, then you can blast it off and you should be able to slide the hub off of the spindle. I got a screwdriver right here that should fit right underneath where it's staked. I'm just gonna pound it in there, put my hand a little bit. Hopefully that's enough to get the nut out. And then I have a 1/2 inch impact. We'll see if that's enough to get this off. Bam, there we go. Let's see if I can pull this off. Easy money, just like that. Once you get the hub removed from the spindle, it's going to be these 4 bolts to remove the whole drum assembly. However, there is an ABS sensor back behind. You do need to disconnect this 12mm nut to let the e-brake cable fall down. And there's a couple clips that hold the brake lines in, so you'll be able to have some range of motion to get this thing out and around the spindle. I'm going to detach all this stuff, and I'm going to pull the drum assembly past the spindle and just let it hang down. You can secure it with a bungee cord or like a brake caliper hanger. I think that this will be able to touch the ground, so I won't have to worry about securing it. So I just pulled the ABS sensor. I kind of pushed it through the hole right up here from the front. Next, I'm going to grab my 14mm socket, and I'm going to blast off these 4 bolts. They might be pretty tough, so you may have to use a breaker bar. So I got the 4 bolts removed. This is pretty loose, just hanging there. I just got to get it out of these clips, and I can push it off to the side. So I'm going to use my screwdriver to pry these guys open a little bit. Hopefully I don't break it. Get the e-brake cable kind of fished down here. So you can see I kind of snaked the whole drum assembly out from in front of the spindle. It's a little hard on the hard lines, so I'm gonna put something underneath to hold this up, just so I'm not stretching the brake lines or anything like that. So once you get the drum assembly moved off the spindle, there's one more bolt right here. This kind of centers everything up. This is a 6mm Allen. Definitely would recommend using an impact driver on this thing. And you can get one at Harbor Freight for really cheap, and that's what I'm gonna do to take this off. So this thing's pretty stuck. I'm gonna PB blaster it and wait a little bit, try and take it off in just a second, but definitely try not to use an impact gun on it. It will strip out. I don't know why they put an Allen head here instead of like a Torx or something. Those are quite a bit better for stripping out, but we're gonna see if we can get this off. All right, boys, I finally got this bolt out. Holy shit, that was tough. I ended up having to heat it up, impact driver it. I finally just put a breaker bar on it and sent it. It has become a T45 now. Had to hammer one of those in to be able to get it off, but we got it off. Unfortunately, I'm probably gonna have to reuse this unless I can make a trip to the hardware store. These things have Loctite on them, and my car has about 220,000 miles on it, so it's pretty rusty down here. So, next step, gonna get the spindle off and throw the shims in. Okay, the spindle's off of the trailing arm right now. That was a little bit tough to get off. I ended up pounding a screwdriver behind it, kind of hit it down a little bit, and then be able to shove something in there. So I'm gonna get everything cleaned up with a wire brush, and I'm gonna install my shim. So here is the camber and toe shim from Hone Developments. You can see toe out, this side out, -1 degree camber. It sits like this onto the axle. I'm going to put it on the spindle itself and then thread all the bolts in. Comes with 4 new bolts. They should be Loctited when you fully install them, and they should be pretty tight. I'm gonna get these guys screwed in, all 5 of them, so that everything's even, and I'm gonna pull the 4 bolts back out, install the drum, and then attach everything permanently. I'm probably gonna try and reuse this sketchy bolt that I just pulled out, and I'm gonna not tighten it very much. Gonna rip these guys down with the impact, loosen them back up, and then I'm gonna screw in this countersunk bolt. I'm gonna grab some Loctite, put it on each of these bolts, run them in, and I'm gonna give them pretty good hard torque down. I don't have a spec for these, To be fair, I'm not really going by the instructions. I mainly just, I understand how these things come apart, so just going for it. But the Loctite is important. I want to Loctite the countersunk bolt behind all this, but I really don't think that's a good idea. If I ever do have to take it out again, I'm definitely gonna have to use a torch, maybe even cut it out. Oh, gotta stand up for this. Next would be to slide the hub on and get the axle nut torqued down, but I got some ARP extended studs I'm going to throw in, so I'll cut back once we finish up with that. So I got my extended lug studs installed, just ripped them in there with the bearing style install tool. Wish that I had a press here so I could do it more correctly, but I got to get her done. So just going to slide this guy on here like that. Spins totally good. Thread the nut on, zap it down a little bit, and I'm going to torque it to 140 foot-pounds. Next, now that I've torqued the nut, I need to restake it. Then I'm going to put the e-brake clip back in, the brake line clip back in, and the ABS sensor, and then I can slap the drum and the dust cap on, and we'll be all finished. And here it is, all finished. I'm going to do the other side, get that all set up, put this thing on the ground, and we'll be all finished. Process is exactly the same for both sides. Most difficult part of this whole deal is getting that countersunk 6mm Allen out of the bottom of the spindle assembly. So I'm gonna get a wheel on this side, go to the other side. I'm not gonna show you guys the other side just because you just saw me do it on this side, but yeah, I'm gonna get after it and I'll show you guys when I'm completely done. So I just got the other side all finished up. I ended up having to helicoil the bolt for the ABS sensor on the rear hub. Here's how it sits. I gained 1 degree of camber, and I should have towed the wheels out a little bit. We'll see how it goes once I get it up on the alignment rack, actually measure the angles on the car. But I'm gonna go take it for a drive, and then I'll get a good picture of how it sits after we're done. So here's how the fit sits with everything installed. This is on S3 track suspension with honed top hats in the front, honed alignment shims in the rear on the toe out sitting with 1 degree of camber in. The wheels still look a little bit towed in. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that, but I'm gonna put it up on the alignment rack, see what the measurements actually are. But took the car around the block, let the suspension settle a little bit, and I'm pretty satisfied with the result. I'm gonna be doing a autocross in 2 days to test this whole suspension out, and I'm really excited to try this. So I'll see you guys then. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you as always for the support, and I will see you guys next time.